I thought we'd start out with some Florida news because Florida is trying to get an AI Bill of Rights. And I brought up, I made this little diagram here. Let me get that off. That actually clouds the diagram. I didn't actually make it. Chat GPT did this for us, otherwise known as my assistant. Started using it last week for the baseball show, which is on Tuesday nights and will be on tomorrow night. So Florida has an AI Bill of Rights they're trying to get passed. And it's basically, you can see here, consumer protections, child safety, data privacy, content restrictions, insurance limits. I have no idea what the heck they're talking about there. Limit insurance companies from using AI as a sole determinant. For adjusting or denying claims. Wow, that's interesting. And government contracting. Prohibit the state and local government entities from contracting with AI providers that do not meet their safety and security standards. So on the legislative side, where does this stand? Governor DeSantis has made this a priority, citing the need for protection against obvious dangers. DeSantis is trying to get a lot of things done before he leaves. That's very clear, including the property tax elimination. He's just like pushing. It basically died in the House, as you'll see there, under the session hurdles. While the Senate has advanced these measures, the House has been hesitant, shown the leaders prefer federal regulation over state level. And that's something that we should talk about. If it's state by state, it could be a little bit of a mishmash. So keep that in the back of your minds. And the tech industry, groups like the Computer Communications Industry Association have raised concerns that these rules could create a fragmented framework, hindering innovation, creating complicated compliance burdens, and really hurting small businesses. I've read some of their stuff, and they said it's just going to really hurt small businesses because small business has a hard time trying to figure out, in theory, 50 different regulations depending on what state they're in or what states they may be in. The future of the bill will depend on the House action. Mentioned that whether the state level regulations can advance ahead of potential federal standards. And you can go to that website to get more information. So I don't know. So let's just start with Mike. We'll start with you on this one. Do you think this is something that really needs to be done? Does it need to be done at the state level? Should we just let the free market guide what happens with the non-military use of AI?
It's interesting because I haven't heard about this before. I haven't actually seen any bill, and I haven't read the legislation. Going with the summary that's being presented right now, I don't really have a problem with it. Looking at the bigger issue, we should see state by state individual AI properties, what the people of the state are willing to have, what protections they do or do not want, what limitations they want to see, if any at all. And then if there's a consensus across the entire nation, once we hit like 2/3 of the states, then we can talk about making it a national bill. I don't think we need a national bill. I think because AI is so innovative and because it can be used in so many different ways, we have to actually target issues on a case-by-case basis, state by state, on what people want. It's kind of like abortion. We don't need a federal law. We have state laws on that because it's very individual. It is very site and region specific. So I think DeSantis is doing the right thing here and waiting for whichever party to try and make whatever deal with compromises and bending the knee to this business or that business or the political winds on any given day. That's the problem with Congress. There'll be a dozen different poison pills put into the best bill or the worst bill. And so we'll get a lot of problems. You leave it state by state, you don't get that problem. You can get the protections you need while still leaving it open for business to do what they need to do. And it's adaptable. You can change it if you need to. I think that's the better way to do it. And of course, part of the reason why DeSantis is trying to push this through right now, let's admit it, it's because he's in the running and he's in the back of the pack out of the top. I think he's in number 5 in the top 10 people looking for the 2028 nomination for the presidency on the
Yeah.
Republican Party. So that's why he's pushing for so much before he's done being governor. And this will help him. And I think this is actually a good thing to do.
Okay. How about you, Joe? What do you think about the state versus federal? And is this a good idea at all for us here in Florida?
Yeah, I'm against the federal government's overriding state government laws. If we're going to have a law, I prefer it to be as local as possible. So in the context of over balance of federal versus state, I would prefer to state. Now, with that being said, I'd rather have no government law on prohibiting or restricting AI. AI is basically the internet 25 years ago or so. I don't think it should be restricted. I think it should be free market, as you mentioned earlier. I don't know what problems AI has come up with so far that I'm aware of. I only hear things being helpful, like this graph you mentioned before. Made with AI, or ChatGPT, whatever. I think it's a good thing. So I wouldn't try to have government stifle that innovation. I wouldn't want that. So, and to Michael's point you brought up, Governor DeSantis, I agree with him. Governor DeSantis is doing this primarily because he's running for president, and he's been the same thing with property taxes. He's running for president. He's trying to get things done on that thing, and it's just marketing. This is one of the things he lists off during a debate, saying, "I had fought against AI, whatever, and property taxes. We tried to reduce property taxes, but the Democrats voted against it, which isn't exactly true." And it doesn't even get rid of all the property taxes. But I'm getting sidetracked with another issue.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, but
no problem.
I think you're missing. We do need it because think about kids are using AI to write for them, to do the math for them. It's hindering in some cases, not in all, but in some cases, we're seeing kids using AI and they're not learning. They don't understand the principles. They don't understand the answers. They're letting AI do everything for them. Parental controls over various AIs would limit that or prevent that entirely, which would be good for our kids. Access to materials, not necessarily just pornography, but there's a lot of materials that may be inappropriate for kids that they can use AI to provide them. Even though you may have a site, we could block a bunch of sites, but if you have an AI that'll reproduce or summarize and present that objectionable material to children, doesn't matter that you have a block on the website, they're able to reproduce it and they get it again. This would also affect certain businesses, especially if there's heavy writing involved. Lawyers have been caught using AI to write some of their briefs, their legal briefs, and they've lost cases because AI can't do that. It's not very good at it, and they've been caught in some cases. We're talking about state level, upper state level lawyers have been caught trying to put in briefs and amendments to trial cases that are completely fictitious. If you have controls on that, then that would prevent that. And remember, that's real world. People are being harmed by these kind of things because there is no safeguard whatsoever. So I think,
There's nothing preventing someone, like a lawyer, for example, to just make up their own law rather than have AI write it. So it doesn't solve that issue at all. And the same thing with with kids using AI to help them write. Like I remember going to school and people were saying, "Oh, you can't use a calculator because you can't have you got to be able to learn how to do math on your own." And now as a grown up, I'm always doing math with the calculator anyway. But I understand the principles anyway. So if people want to teach in school the principles of writing, that's fine. But I think AI should not be prevented to help them in writing in the future. When it comes to lawyers as well. And not only that, but also pornography. We're not going to stop kids from finding pornography by banning it from AI. It's not going to happen. They're going to find it anyway. Like we have a law already on the books in Florida that bans pornography on websites without having a verification for age. But you could find it if you want. Like it's just everywhere. And
You know
kids
what?
are smarter than adults. Like they have VPNs and whatnot to get around it.
The interesting point on having AI write your paper, because I mean, I worked at Long Island University in Brooklyn for 15 years as a library professor, and it was always a question of the students hiring somebody to write the paper for them. So in the past, kids would make money that way writing for other, and then the other kid who just paid, if I pay you Joe $100 to write for me, you write it out, I hand it in under my name. It's kind of the same thing as having AI do it, except now you took out the free market.
Well, the free market's still there. You just don't have to pay for it anymore.
Well, no, actually,
I just put that in there for a joke.
Even in the old way, so the kid who's getting paid for it, one, he's becoming a better business entrepreneur. That could be good for the future. He's getting more skill at writing, especially if he's writing in the voice of the other person rather than just writing in their own voice. So he's becoming a better writer. So yeah, one person may be suffering because they're trying to cheat and cut corners, and that'll disrupt their life. But someone else is actually improving and becoming better and more of an asset to society. With AI, you cut that out. So even when we're looking in worst case scenarios and we're looking at the gray areas that exist, we can point out how without AI, there are still more positives than what we're seeing with AI. What?
I'm going to push back a little bit on that, because in your scenario where someone is writing for someone else and being paid for it, they're both still cheating. Those are not exactly two good people there. So if someone wants to use AI and cut out one bad person,
well, if you find out, I mean, obviously at least at LIU, the punishment for something like that was really depended on the teacher, and then there was like a review board. If the teacher brings it up, professor, brought it up, there'd be a review board within that department to figure out the action steps against that student. So it's obviously not looked at as favorable because it's not your own original work.
By the way, I'm not saying people should cheat on their writing assignments or their homework. Right. I'm just saying if it's not this, it'll be something else. And it has been.
But my thing is, the degree of how bad this is worse than the other options. You know that in Hartford, a year and a half ago, one of the top graduates of Hartford Heights School in Connecticut, she's illiterate. She graduated in the top 10 of her class. As a matter of fact, I believe she was salutatorian, and she's currently suing the high school. She was using AI and other applications on her phone to be able to read and write for her, because she can't read, she can't write. And she's in college now, learning how to read and write. Not that she's not dumb. And she can verbally, she's sharp. She can speak. She can't read or write. And it was because the teachers were relying on technology rather than helping the student. And AI only amplifies that and makes it worse. So we already see it's really already taking an impact.
Okay, well, let's run down this list here. Consumer protections requires businesses to notify users when they are interacting with an AI chatbot. I actually interact with an AI chatbot quite a few times during the course of the week in my DoorDash hours because their chat is called Ash, and it's a female, and she is incredibly responsive. It is the best bot I've ever dealt with. You can talk just like we're talking now, and she gets it. And what they do is it works great because usually the bot's able to solve the problem and correct something, let's say, that needs to be corrected on the app. And if not, they just raise it, the bot, Ash, raises it to a human. So it works really well there. I know in other situations it doesn't. I guess we've all had that experience. I like the child safety, and to me that kind of harkens back to, cable, when cable was king, and there'd be a way to limit what the violence. My nephew would sleep over. A personal story. Back in the day when I was married, my nephew would come over our house and we'd have a fun night together. But he was allowed to sleep in the living room with the TV, and he thought he could watch whatever he wanted, but I put on the parental control. So he saw no violence and he saw no sex. So I don't really have a problem with that. And I do like this right here about the without parental. Oh, and enable the very last part there. The parents can access conversation logs. I think that's a kind of a good idea. I'm not against that. You know, for adults, I'm definitely more on the libertarian side of like just adults could do whatever they want with AI, go wherever they want with AI, and all that. I like the kind of the parental child safety stuff there. Data privacy, I guess that makes. Yeah, go ahead. You got something?
I was going to agree with you. Like that, I agree with 100%. I think parental control absolutely should exist. I just don't want government to be pretending that they're my parents.
You still want government what?
Pretending that they're my parents. I don't want government
control
100%. Of like what I can watch on TV or something. I think parents doing that for children, sure, but not the government doing it for me. No.
So what are you guys thinking about? 1, 2, 3, 4 down. Content restrictions prohibits AI from using an individual's name, image, likeness without consent. Now, I'm thinking like I did something the other day that had a Frank Sinatra song, and so Sinatra, the Chat GPT brought up Sinatra. Are we gonna be in a situation where like the people who are managing Sinatra's foundation right now? I made that up. I don't know what it's really called, but managing his likeness and advertisements and such could say we don't want Sinatra on ChatGPT. I don't know if I like that, because why not? Somebody who's a public figure like that, you put when you're that big and that popular, when you put yourself out there as a public figure, you really kind of give up some of your rights. People download your photos all the time, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, we're public figures on a way, way smaller scale than Frank Sinatra. Can we say, you can't like Mike's face can't show up on the DSA's website as saying, I love Mamdani. Like that would be wrong.
Oh yes.
Well,
so where's
the
extent of it? So since I brought up Mike first on this one, where's the extent to the NILs called the name, image, and likeness? How does that actually play into it? What do you think?
Well, we have laws on this already. They need to be enforced and probably strengthened to a certain extent. You're right. There's a big difference between standard civilian and public entity. I am, and we are public entities, more so, even more so from, say, you, Charles, and me, because we work in news, and we've published articles, we've done journalism, which puts us in an even higher category of public awareness. I've run for elected office. Joe, you're running for elected office. Again, another higher category of public likeness. Now, that doesn't mean, just like with Sinatra or Denzel Washington or AOC, that doesn't mean you have carte blanche to mimic that individual, especially if it involves creating money. A parody is an exception. If you're making a parody of them, then that's acceptable. And it has to be a very clear and substantive one. But if you're trying to collect money off of making some lie because I'm somehow connected to progressives, that is something that's suable, and I can win because that's a misrepresentation of me.
Right. So I guess those would apply.
And Bob down the street is completely off bounds. He can't touch him. I think that's perfectly fine. It's just adapting the current laws and basically just adapting it so that AI has got that built in. Parody, yes. Making money, no. I think that's fair.
And I'm going to give Joe some props here because he is the leading voice in Volusia County. And like his shirt says, I know Joe. Everybody knows Joe. I had Julio David Sosa on last night, and we got to talking about this show. And I said, I have Joe Hanoush. She goes, I know Joe. And I get that from like every politician left and right. When I bring up my show or talk about libertarians and I mention Joe. Everybody's like, I know Joe, and everybody likes Joe. So he has definitely got the Q rating in Volusia County, that's for sure. So Joe, you kind of, how do you feel about the whole NIL issue there?
I mostly agree with Michael there. As long, I
Yeah,
think,
because-
we are public figures, and if you're running in the Boston Marathon, which was something recent happening there, you're public. You're running in the marathon. Millions of people are probably watching you. You're getting clipped everywhere. Now, to Michael's point, if they put you on a website and say, Joe Hanoush is, endorses Democrats or progressives or whatever, that's fraud, and that is suable. That's liable. All those things. That's wrong. But if it's just a general, like if someone wants to clip this right now, like if Larry Sharp does it and he puts it on a show, we put it out there in the public to be seen, right? So if Larry's just saying, here's this clip about AI and puts it on his show for 30 seconds, we shouldn't have any problem with that at all.
I
Unless
think
he makes
Larry
money.
should do that.
Unless he's making
Right.
money, and then depending, and again, it depends on the nature of the clip.
Yeah.
One absolutely should give credit to Charles, his show, and us
Right.
as being part of that show. If he
Right.
makes money off of our spot specifically, then we're entitled to have a share of that because it's our original content.
I don't know about
That's
that.
a
I think
difference.
the obviously if he clips this, it'll say, the opinion guy, it'll say Joe Hanoush, Michael.
It should.
Bob.
Doesn't mean it will. It should, but it
Right,
doesn't
well, then
mean
you're
it will.
breaking the law if you don't. So
I think that's
yeah,
credit enough. Go ahead.
There's a huge
Yeah,
scandal right now about this guy called Otterly Noah. Otter like the animal, Otterly Noah, about how he plagiarizes entire shows. He steals entire, not just portions, but entire videos and repurposes it slightly. And he's plagiarizing them and he does this to smaller channels, individuals with like 3,000 viewers. And his channel has 250,000, something like that. So he's making bank off of getting paid of stealing other people's content. That's currently a controversy going on right now. Not everyone knows about it, but a lot of content creators are following this because this is a problem.
Uh-huh.
So, and we're talking, and that's exactly what we're talking about here. And this AI, and some of that is being collected by AI to help him to plagiarize people and make money off of their content. So this would help to protect content creators when the system is abused. Again, the system exists. The question is it being, this is to reinforce that it can't be abused just because it's an AI.
you know what? Let me catch up on some comments here. Donna checks in. Oh, that was actually you saying hello to her. Oh, well,
Yeah.
she checked in and said hi. Where is that? Man, oh man, I've been doing this for 77 shows. You'd think I'd get it right by now. There it is. Hello, great to see you all again. Woo, love that teacup tattoo, Donna. That is awesome. Donna's my girlfriend, by the way. That is lovely Donna checking in. And then let's see, Hal checks in and he says, none of this will prepare us for the August 29th, 2:14 a.m. when Skynet AI becomes self-aware. Skynet AI becomes self-aware. Is that really happening at August 29th, 2:14? All right.
If you follow
I don't
the
know anything
lore.
about that. What is
If
that?
you follow the Terminator lore, yeah.
Oh, so that is, I know. I never watched the Terminator show. I've told you
What?
guys.
You've
I
never
don't
seen the
know.
Terminator movies?
I've seen bits and pieces. Like
The first two
I
are
am
good.
so not culturally literate. It's unbelievable. I don't get. Look. What's the guy's name that plays the Terminator? What's that guy's name
Arnold
again?
Schwarzenegger?
Yeah, right. Arnold Schwarzenegger. He doesn't know me, so why should I know him? When he watches this show, I'll watch his movies.
Oh my
That's the
God.
way I roll. Yes, of course. I couldn't tell you a Taylor Swift
Hey,
song, and she couldn't tell
hey.
you the title of any of my shows. So I
He
think
was
we're even.
governor of California, so he's in politics.
That
We
part
gotta
I
have-
know. I forgot his name. I know that part. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And Twins was a great movie, by the way. That movie was hilarious.
Okay, so you probably didn't get the joke of what I was saying to Hal back.
No, I don't. I don't get it at all. But let's bring it up. Everybody else will get it.
2001, as in the movie 2001, Space
Yes,
Odyssey.
I saw that movie.
Hal is Hal 9000.
Yes.
So do it make
right.
sense now?
I'm sorry,
Yes.
Dave. I can't do that.
Yes. I
I
saw
thought-
that movie. That was cool.
That was a scary movie.
Yeah. Pretty neat stuff. All right, so really interesting, and it says across the bottom there that there is going to be a special session here in Florida later this week, or tomorrow. That's actually tomorrow,
Tomorrow, yeah.
28th. Holy smoke! So we'll follow up on that. I'm going to make that one of the stories we follow up on, like we're keeping track of Don Lemon and talked about how he might run for president. So this AI stuff, I'm just make a note over here to put it in my larger file for this show. It's pretty cool. We'll definitely follow up on what happens there and come back at it next week. But there is some information there from that computer, from the group that's mentioned on the bottom there. Let me get the whole name of that group. The Computer and Communication Industry Association. They are against it, as the graph shows, and they think it's going to create broader regulatory burdens without clearly improving the safety or accountability. As I mentioned at the top of this discussion, the state-by-state issue can create conflicting obligations, especially for smaller businesses that can't really adapt to that many. They're definitely in that camp. So they're against it. They're against the complex and inconsistent compliance requirements, the way they see this bill being written, and no clear standards or specific and tied to specific harms. I don't think they're really right about that one. The bill risks creating uncertainty for companies. So they're against it. I'm sure they're lobbying like crazy in Tallahassee, the capital of Florida. So we'll keep on top of that one, man. I just thought that was an interesting piece for our Florida news.